sum up your job experience and work ambition in 60 seconds or less. Go! Could you do it? It's called an elevator pitch, and in today's uncertain job market, you never know when an unexpected opportunity to market yourself could arise. Kevin Johnson is here with some tips on making a concise and confident pitch. Kevin is with Robert Half International. Thanks for coming in. And my feet are kind of being put to the fire here. So if I met someone in an elevator and they said, Ted, you know what, there's an opening, a gig, a television gig somewhere, why should we give it to you or even consider you? I would hammer home, and you can tell me if I'm on the right track or not. I would hammer home how I'm one of the most trusted people in Calgary. I've won many awards. Ratings always go up everywhere I work, and I volunteer all kinds of time, which probably causes everything else to rise. So what do you think?
Well, I think as long as that's what's important to the people that would be hiring you, that's fantastic.
And that's key, right? You got to know what the other people want.
Absolutely. So you're doing your research, your homework, what's important in your industry or to your type of position, and what are the key factors going to be for those employers?
Okay. And then, of course, does it matter how you present it? Like, does it matter which order you go in, or?
You know, I don't think it matters as much what order, but it can be helpful to have a bit of a formula to keep in mind. So one of the things we talk a lot about is who are you?
Sure.
What have you done? What makes you unique? And then what is your ultimate end goal?
What makes you unique, right? That must be key, because there must be, you know, some gigs, some television gigs, or maybe 25 people up for it.
Well, and especially when you get to the point of interviewing for a job, if you got to the interview, you already have the core skill sets that are required in all likelihood for the position. They're not going to call you in for a meeting if you haven't been on television before. They're not going to call you in for a lead anchor position, as an example. So, you know, you've already had that piece of it. What makes you unique, what makes you a little bit better than your competition is going to be what ultimately gets you the job, and potentially even what got you the interview in the first place.
We were kind of half joking in the commercial while Andy was doing the weather about Canadians are really humble to a fault when it comes to tooting your own horn, and we got to get over that, don't we?
Yeah, and I mean, it is very, it's even regional within Canada. I've got a friend that recently moved here from Toronto, and he said that he's had to learn how to dial it back a little bit. He's not interviewing for a Bay Street job, he's interviewing for Calgary, and he's noticed that he's maybe put a couple people a little bit off with his, you know, slightly more confident.
Out there? Okay.
Yeah, a little bit more out there, a little bit more confident. Not that that's a bad thing. It's always going to be individual as well. You know, I go in a lot of interviews with candidates that work with us, and in one interview, the candidate may be very confident, and the client will really appreciate that. He wants somebody that's assertive, that's going to get it done. And in the next interview, they may not like it at all, because you're going to ruffle the feathers of the rest of the team. So it's always tough to pick.
And again, that gets back to what you were really hammering home off the top, is knowing who you're talking with or interviewing with, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And how do I do that? If I have an interview lined up, I've gone through the resume stage, and they've now called me in, and I'm obviously one of 10 people or so. How can I research, say it's an energy gig, oil and gas or something like that, how can I research to make sure I'm informed?
You know, one of the best ways, I think, that's a significant change, even in the last 4 to 5 years, is just the amount of information on social media. If we take a look at tools like LinkedIn, it's very easy to take a look at an organization, maybe find 1 or 2 or 3 key people within the company, ask them to talk about what it's like to work in the organization, what does the company find is important, try and learn a little bit even about the person you're going to be interviewing with, what's their personality style, what do they tend to key on candidates, and you can come in fairly well armed.
There you go. Good advice. Kevin Johnson with Robert Half International. If people want to find out about Robert Half, how do they do that?
www.rhi.com.
rhi.com. Thank you, Kevin.
Fantastic.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Good
you.
advice. Good tips this morning. There you go.